Naruto is without a doubt one of the most influential manga series to ever come out of Japan. I would confidently say that this series, alongside Dragon Ball and Pokemon, is one of the main entities that kicked the door down for anime to become monolithic in Western media throughout the 2000s. The leap in popularity and commonality of anime in the 90s compared to the 2000s is not even close. Naruto's cultural impact is absolutely undeniable. From your favorite athletes being a fan, it being referenced in other forms of entertainment, people doing the famous Naruto run, and it even being used by publicists to get their clients to pretend they are fans of anime so they can appear more relatable to their younger audience and thus boosting their own popularity. Though One Piece may have impressive profitability and extreme popularity, a lot of its success is unique to Japan only, and where One Piece didn't grow outside of Japan as fast as say Dragon Ball did, it certainly didn't like Naruto too. Naruto is a series that encapsulates all of the cool elements of manga that made anime stand out much more than conventional cartoons. From the relatable cast and their stories, to the edgy motivational music, good use of martial arts, its incredibly interesting power system of hand signs, summoning jutsu, cool eye abilities, and even using items to switch places. This series is absolutely fantastic in many ways. So many ways that I genuinely could not properly describe them all in a video that goes less than a few hours. Though with all that being said, the best part about Naruto to me, or the most humorous thing as someone who has been following this series since 2007, is how so many people can watch this anime, read it, buy merchandise, enjoy the fights, play the video games, feel compassion towards the characters even if that character is depicted in a villainous role, and still completely misunderstand the series and its quite obvious thematic messages. It's funny because with how popular Naruto is, it's so easy for people to write the series off as incredibly overrated due to its monstrous popularity, but I would unironically say that this series is actually one of the most underrated series when it comes to the value of its writing. For such a long-running series, with so many chapters, so many weekly episodes, it's genuinely constructed quite well. I don't consider Naruto a perfect series by any means, but when you look in retrospect at how long this series is, and how so many characters are interlinked with very in-depth storytelling which is filled with genuinely good writing that you feel compassionate towards, I believe the series does an alright job when you just consider how long it truly is. You've probably seen endless capital P jokes about Obito Uchiha, who is really an incredible, complex character that deals with very complicated storytelling. Being the black sheep of a clan famous for being filled with endless talent, the effects of youth participating in war, his role as a ninja tool, which is a theme that goes as far back as the Land of Waves arc, or his struggles with his identity. How about Sasuke? His entire story and his struggles are spoon-fed to us since chapter 3. The massively long evolution of his mental health, his pride as the last remaining Uchiha, the duality of his friendship with Naruto versus his end goal filled with destruction and his quest for vengeance. They'll see all of this amazing storytelling, which has been developed for years in real time, and break it down to edgy emo. Edgy emo. The one that takes the cake, however, is the one from the title of this video. The main character, Naruto Uzumaki. This story is laid out to us so slap in the face that I could probably describe his childhood better than my own. This swing set right here, and the endless flashbacks of it in the anime, have basically been branded to my brain with a steel rod. For over 700 chapters, we are shown his struggles, his lowest moments, his confidence, his strengths, his weaknesses, the pressure of everything he has been through. His cool fights, overcoming adversity in every aspect, befriending the embodiment of hate itself, never giving up on his best friend, finally becoming Hokage, and still. Parroting idiots will draw his character down to minute comparisons like, well, he was destined for greatness, he's Naruto Jesus after all. He was born with a being inside of him that has immense power, so by default he has help and was actually gifted all along. He's not a real underdog. And the comparison is usually always, Rock Lee is an underdog character. He run for many great distance and do ultra large, great, humongous push-up. Naruto is just the child of the prophecy whom Jiraiya always knew would succeed. Without a doubt, this is some of the most smooth brain, lack of critical thinking nonsense I consistently see in not just my YouTube comment section, but the greater Naruto community. In the past, I made a video which was pretty much centered around this same topic, and I still, to this day, get the same parroting nonsense in my comments all the time. Almost daily, I could be sitting there, taking a shit, scrolling on my YouTube Studio app, and I'm like, oh, okay, There's another retarded comment. To understand both characters, you have to truly think about the point of the argument. The idea here is that the two characters are characters who've overcome adversity, and even still have done exceptionally well for themselves. They've gone above and beyond expectations and defied the barriers in front of them, both socially and physically. Rock Lee is a character born without the ability to use his chakra to create ninjutsu or genjutsu, initially making him quite useless in the world of Naruto, so therefore, he put all of his efforts into maintaining a strong physical body and worked on his taijutsu to the point where it shocks many high-level characters when he's introduced in the Chunin exams. Along with this, thanks to my guy, someone who sees a lot of himself in him, Rock Lee was able to learn the 8 Inner Gates technique. His entire character's foundation is built upon the fact that even without power or talent, if you work hard enough and commit yourself, you can still do great in life. If you had no prior knowledge of Naruto and consumed that quick explanation of Rock Lee's character from me in a vacuum, you'd probably think to yourself, man, what a cool underdog story. Underdog. A competitor thought to have little chance of winning a fight or contest. A person who has little status in society. Notice how this definition applies to almost every character in Naruto. The series consistently deals with things from mental health, corrupt politics, the cycle of suffering and hatred, isolation, one's purpose, and even messages that I wish the author had delved into even deeper. Masashi Kishimoto is an absolute genius at creating characters from both the good and bad, which are so well written that you feel genuine sympathy and understanding for them. In most cases too, a lot of them tend to be from a status of underdog. Naruto the character directly falls into this underdog category. In fact, he is so directly in this category that it's embarrassing that this video even needs to be made as a response to so many who don't think for themselves and just parrot the opinions of others. People seem to apply this weird train of logic that because Naruto was destined or prophesized to be great, that he didn't work for anything. He did not know about any of this, nor did it change his mindset to train and become Hokage, or how untalented he was in various other ways at first. Did you guys know that if his destiny was set in stone like Lord's divine will, he would face Sasuke even if he was someone who stayed home all day, ate ramen, never trained, and was just a fat ass? Hypothetical, different reality, overweight Naruto still has to fight Sasuke if that's the case. Did you also know that if Naruto never trained or tried to become a ninja, he would be hunted down by the likes of Itachi Uchiha, who would have taken him to pain, had the Kyuubi extracted, and he would die? This was one of the first characters who came for Naruto at just the age of 12. You see, unlike Rock Lee, who didn't actually need to become a ninja, quite similar to characters like Sakura, Naruto actually had no choice. Regardless of his own desire to become a ninja, the only thing he was truly destined for was suffering. He was not controlled by a higher power, even while destined to do great. And those powers he would later receive from the Sage of the Six Paths were not even given to him until he was around 17 years old, and were mostly used in one singular battle. You may as well disregard Sasuke witnessing his entire clan being slaughtered before his very eyes, getting mind-wrecked by his brother in the Tsukuyomi, which was so intense that Tsunade had to save Kakashi's mind from being ruined, and it hospitalized him for multiple days. From Kakashi's perspective, he was experiencing this torture for multiple days straight. Sasuke as a child was basically put in the same thing, and also manipulated by his, again, own brother, which he witnessed slaughter his whole clan, into absolutely despising him. And then Sasuke finds out all of his ambitions, all of his commitments, everything he's believed in turns out to pretty much be a lie. And one of the people that means more than anything to him, who slaughtered his whole clan, killed his whole family, mentally destroyed him with genjutsu as a child, wasn't even a bad guy in the end. But even with every single terrible thing Sasuke has been through, even though his childhood might make Rock Lee's childhood look like a gift, because Sasuke was born with a Sharingan and was destined to eventually gain godly powers, and was destined to fight Naruto to the death, which that in itself isn't actually a good destiny. It's all good. Sasuke and Naruto aren't underdogs because they were destined to eventually kill one another. What? It's literally the equivalent of giving a winning lottery ticket to a child of war and saying they were destined for millions of dollars, so that removes them from being the underdog status by virtue of having money now, even though it doesn't erase all of the hard work, the suffering, the permanent trauma, and everything else they've been through. If you look at the story of Naruto, and then disregard him being the story of an underdog because the Nine Tails decided to occasionally give Naruto an amp in fights, when we later found out the Nine Tails only did this so he could either take Naruto over, or have Naruto die in combat so he could randomly respawn on the planet and be free from the seal which contained him inside of Naruto, If you look at all of that, all the struggles, all the flashbacks, everything that Masashi Kishimoto laid out to us on a silver platter with amazing cutlery to consume, well, you're most likely a little slow. We don't even know if being destined in Naruto to do something means that you are guaranteed to reach this destiny. The series consistently shows us that characters are always going against their destiny or supposed thing that they're meant to do, and they surpass it, whether it's a rough childhood, an unwinnable battle. Sasuke, Naruto, and Madara all showed us that the things prophesized can be changed. So again, them being prophesized to do these things doesn't have any reflection on their childhoods, as it shows their hard work and struggle still got them to this spot. And even if Naruto and Sasuke were meant to achieve godlike power, they didn't have access to any of it until they were 17, well beyond a lot of the crap they had been through. Just think about Madara Uchiha for a second. He was fated to fight Hashirama Senju to the death. And what did Madara do? He broke that fated battle by surviving, having himself revived, and reaching the Sage of the Six Paths powers. This in itself proves to us that although destined to do great things, if Naruto did not train since he was younger, he would have never reached this destined great power. In fact, when you think about all of the gifts that Naruto and Sasuke had when they were growing up, Naruto, even being from the Uzumaki clan, had barely any relevance to him growing up. Maybe it made his body a little bit more durable, but it's like, oh boohoo, he takes a few more punches. Why is that even a big deal? Because the Nine Tails, if you think about that, the Nine Tails would always mess with his ability to mold chakra into jutsu, and he was mentally a mess inside anyway. A lot of Sasuke's gifts too came from his hard work, determination, and non-stop training. He was always trying to advance and do better. Their first battle against Dangerous Ninja, Sasuke is prepared because he has been constantly marinating in his brain about how he is going to surpass his brother, and he is always prepared. This isn't a gift, this is something that is by virtue of his own hard work and the absolute terrible nightmare he went through when he was younger. And something that is very admirable of, say, Sasuke and Naruto is that no matter how many times they get knocked back, they always want to surpass their previous selves, improve on their techniques, learn more, and just do better. In the face of adversity, they never stop. Naruto also being the son of the 4th Hokage Minato means nothing too, because he didn't get anything from him genetically except his physical appearance. If you want to argue that his talent somehow carried over, there's really no indication of that other than that Naruto really was a hard worker deep down inside. And if you want to say that he had any gifts from the 4th Hokage, I mean, he was left with half of the Nine Tails, probably one of the most dangerous beings on the planet, and something that made him hated in the village and the entire village was absolutely terrified of. And it wasn't left in Naruto to give him an edge growing up, it was actually left in Naruto because they were hoping that when Naruto was to grow up that he would somehow turn this, gift, if you want to even call it that, into being able to control the power of the Nine Tails, which so many people had trouble with. Countless characters time and time again describe that Naruto will eventually surpass Minato, and will do this without even meeting him until later. He didn't even know that his father was the Hokage, it had zero relevance to his upbringing. And to describe how Naruto even got anything tangible from Minato, other than his hair color and somewhat physical appearance, this actually goes so deep that Masashi Kishimoto didn't even plan to introduce Minato or Kushina into the story until he himself had kids, and noticed that this element was very important to the story. It's definitely true that the Nine Tails did assist Naruto, but it was never with good intention. If Naruto had lost to Neji, he would have just trained and never stopped until he was Hokage. Gaara's character showed us how dark this stuff can get, as he was basically insane due to his tail beast. And to think that it's a blessing to have the Nine Tails inside of you, and ignore just how horrible it made Naruto's life, is so truly idiotic when it's shown to us so many times throughout the series. It's actually one of the main elements of the whole series. Sasuke's is solitude, Naruto's is being isolated. It genuinely feels like because some readers and watchers' worst experiences are being yelled at by their parents to stop gaming at night and to do their homework, or maybe they were called a mean name online, that they undermine just how bad Naruto's life was and parrot the Rock Lee underdog agenda without thinking for themselves. Realistically, how does someone look at Naruto going through having a shopkeeper basically assault him? It's one of the saddest scenes in the whole series because almost the whole village views him as a monster. He just wants one of the masks because it looks cool. He's told to go away, and it's thrown at him like he's trash. Keep in mind when he goes home, he's going home to an empty home. One that is only there because Hiruzen occasionally brings him money once a month. Kakashi and Hiruzen find expired food in his house, showing a literal child is going through depression and cannot take care of himself correctly. This is the same 3rd Hokage Hiruzen who promised Minato and Kushina he'd look after Naruto, who's barely ever there by the way. Jiraiya, his godfather, is on a pussy quest, writing books and wildin'. Although his situation is more complicated, he doesn't turn up until Naruto is around 12 years old. Sakura, who is the first love interest of Naruto, and yes, I know she gets a lot of unnecessary flack, consistently hits and treats Naruto pretty terribly, and eventually even lies to his face. Naruto later in the story, who is so oblivious to someone showing him genuine caringness, he doesn't even realize that Hinata loved him all along, even in a movie dedicated entirely to showing this aspect. There are elements of this in the pain battle which are shown, though it truly isn't until the movie that he fully realizes Hinata is the right person for him. It's actually an element of the story that's incredibly undervalued. Naruto eventually getting over his feelings for Sakura and realizing that she's actually not the right girl for him is another thing that people don't pay attention to. I really feel like Masashi Kishimoto actually wrote that in a pretty realistic way. A lot of young men will waste their time pursuing women who in truth aren't actually worth the effort. And a lot of this wasted effort will come from a lack of experience, a lack of common sense, and a lack of being taught about this stuff by a peer. How do you see Naruto get shunned from society, rejected by those he admires, be manipulated by evil individuals, when that in itself is sad because it shows you that the one time someone showed Naruto some genuine attention, he learnt a forbidden fucking jutsu made by the second Hokage. People treat that like, oh, Naruto's gifted, he just learnt it easily. No, what's being shown, and is followed up later in the story, which Sasuke actually makes fun of Naruto's inner insecurities, is Sasuke blatantly states, yo, you only use that jutsu because you're actually lonely inside. And then on the other angle of that, he learnt the jutsu because again, someone finally showed him some true, actual caringness and support, and they were like, yo, go learn that jutsu, and he did. One of the biggest tropes in the entire series is the class clown Naruto doing things for attention, but then as he slowly develops, matures, meets people that, you know, actually have genuine love for him, and he finds camaraderie and support, he develops and flourishes into an amazing character. I know not everyone has the fortitude to deal with all the things that Naruto did, but there's a lot of people out there who've had very bad upbringings, have experienced some terrible things, and they still haven't given up. It's actually one of the main reasons why I felt so much relatability with the main character and loved the series growing up. My childhood was terrible. And that isolation and lack of support by individuals in your life who, you know, should be supporting you in some way or another, it has a genuine big toll. To think that people lowball Naruto's suffering and undermine his character to the point where it's broken down to, well, a talking frog said he's destined to get strong, so I guess all this pain and suffering vanishes the second old man Jesus waves his wand and gives him a squirt of power. He's not a real underdog like Rock Lee. Where does this weird rule of thumb for the underdog status that people have made up out of thin air even end? Because it's incredibly ironic that when people downplay Naruto and Sasuke's struggles due to how they end up when they're older, tell me, what's the difference between Neji and Sakura in the Chunin exams? Many will bring up Neji's conversation about destiny and his words to Naruto, but how about the fact that Neji, who is usually used as an example to show that Naruto is a quote-unquote hypocrite in a sense, or that his character is flawed with the way that Masashi Kishimoto wrote him, well, Neji is born with an eye, due to his DNA, that inherently gives him an edge over many characters, from Kiba, Sakura, to even Tenten. Do they now constitute being a greater example of underdog than he? Ironically too, Neji's destiny spiel is mostly directed at Naruto's ambitions to become a Hokage, which is completely unaffected by the abilities he receives from the Sage of the Six Paths. Naruto was worthy of becoming Hokage once he defeated Pain and had so much approval from the people of Konoha that he was remembered by name in the war as the hero of Konoha from even Sand Ninja. Something he always wanted since the first 5 chapters of the manga. Neji is so jaded from his childhood and the curse seal on his forehead that he believes wholeheartedly that things are predetermined and set in stone no matter what. His view of destiny is narrow-minded, and his situation, which although is terrible, sadly only affects him and those with this specific Hyuga clan seal, not the other millions of people on the same planet. He also has a very look-down-his-nose attitude towards people like Hinata, Rock Lee, and Naruto, purely for having hope. It's one thing to connect the dots with Neji's words, but his words of destiny are from an individual trapped by the traditions of his clan, not his own destiny. Neji in the Chunin exams went out of his way to try and kill Hinata, which would mean his predetermined servitude of Hinata would have been destroyed. By his own individual choice, defeating destiny. Naruto in this very fight proves Neji is wrong by calling him out on this. He also does the same thing when he's spectating the fight between Hinata and Neji. Didn't Neji, in essence, also actively choose to be a good person and die for the sake of Hinata in the war, instead of dying in the way he expected to? Many would say, well, this proves what Neji was saying, because he actually died in a way where he would be serving Hinata. But that's not actually true, because when you reread the chapters of his death, you'll find that he chose to die for Hinata. But not just Hinata. He also died for Naruto, and helped keep the war going. Neji verbatim states that Naruto's words impacted him in the Chunin exams, and that he had people who would be willing to die for him, including himself. Neji died by his own decision, not by his predetermined destiny. Once again, another character developing and overcoming their destiny. The only bad part about this fight is that Naruto had Kurama help him, which could understandably constitute being uncool in the fight to the viewer, but Jiraiya was telling Naruto to hone his skills of utilizing the chakra of the Nine Tails, another example of Naruto doing well when encouraged. The Neji versus Hinata and Naruto fights are narratively proving destiny isn't real in the world of Naruto. It's the main focus of both fights. Masashi Kishimoto didn't spend weeks drawing these chapters for no reason. He was trying to convey this message that destiny doesn't exist in Naruto and it can be overcome. It's so direct that in the world of Naruto, you could have Madara say, hypothetically, everybody is destined to die one day, and then he becomes immortal. He, by default, has then overcome destiny in that instance. The second he becomes immortal, boom, destiny's just been surpassed. It isn't actually, like I said earlier in the video, involving an unknown being that just waves its hand and it controls everybody's destiny. It doesn't even exist in Naruto. To further prove this, remember when the author made an entire arc which revolved around the destiny of becoming Hokage? This was hammered home so hard to the reader and watcher that Kishimoto invented a necklace for this arc, which those who wear it have the misfortune of passing before reaching their dream. Tsunade chose Naruto and put faith in his dream over the potential of having her most important loved ones brought back to life by Orochimaru. Just like in the Neji fight, Naruto overcame this destined failure to become Hokage, which sadly, Naoki and Dan died because of. Orochimaru was constantly talking negatively about Naruto in his fight with Tsunade and Jiraiya, spoke about his lack of talent, and how he was essentially destined to die just like those two did in the past. Also, the idea of Naruto not working hard is so absolutely idiotic that it's almost like they didn't watch or read when Tsunade made a bet with Naruto that he wouldn't be able to learn the Rasengan within a week. You might have also forgotten, Tsunade was a famous gambler and bet this cursed necklace of the first Hokage on Naruto not being able to learn this incredibly difficult jutsu invented by the fourth Hokage. He was also going to lose his wallet to her if he lost the bet. The encouragement from Jiraiya and Tsunade, and bet, led to him never giving up on the jutsu. Once more, another example of Naruto doing well when supported and encouraged to do something. Just like when he went out of his way to speak to Asuma for advice on his newly found wind style and create his own S-class jutsu, which allowed him to be in the same echelon as Minato. Or you guys remember that dude he really loved, you know, the closest thing he's ever had to a family member? Jiraiya, I think that was his name. Remember when he passed and Naruto committed so hard to attaining Sage Mode that he perfected it and found a cheat code to have more nature energy in his battle with pain? Naruto really is coming across as someone that doesn't work hard, huh? I do understand how many people could see Naruto being destined to get powers feels like it takes something away from the story. So many shonen series always over-exaggerate the main characters being destined to reach a certain milestone, they'll surpass a level of power, or they have a family member that's famous for being incredibly powerful. Then when they go from struggling to getting a huge power-up, it feels like a large skip in time, or not truly earned in a sense. It makes them feel less authentic to the viewer, less relatable. Though, as I've displayed in this video, nothing changes for the main part of the story of Naruto, nor does it reflect on Naruto's real, hard work or horrible upbringing he had, and survived through. Even when Naruto did have help in battles in many instances throughout the series, it wasn't always how it appeared, and using this weird social underdog, made-up definition to undermine his journey, to me feels wrong and very silly. And breaking the Clyde fourth wall here for a second, I have to say that while editing up to this part of the video, It truly does feel like a lot of the time when I'm writing about Naruto or making a video on Naruto, that sadly a small yet very vocal minority of the community spouts so much crap about the characters and the story to the point where it almost feels like they've read or watched a completely different story to me. And what makes it ridiculous is that a lot of these narrative elements of the story or themes written into individual characters, you don't need to be a master at narrative analysis or even be very educated on writing to even understand it. This stuff is extremely blatant. In fact, it is so blatant that all you have to do is read the manga and watch the anime. I would also like to say that if I was writing Naruto, destiny and prophecy type story tropes would definitely not be in my version of the story. But not because I think they're bad writing type strategies or anything like that, but because quite frankly, I've seen it way too many times in other stories. And yes, I can definitely see how at first glance it may have bothered a lot of older Naruto fans and felt like it took something away from the story. However, Madara proved to us that nothing is set in stone, and your supposed destiny doesn't define you. In fact, so did Naruto. Naruto overcame his destiny. Hey everyone, I just wanted to end off this video with a bit of an apology for the lack of activity on my YouTube channel and the lack of Twitch streams. For the past few months, I've been pretty down mentally, and I really didn't want to return to YouTube unless I had something that was what I would consider a really good upload. So I dedicated around 3 weeks to making this specific video. I fine-tuned the script 10 times, went back and recorded lines for the video that I was unhappy with when it came to the pronunciation or the sound of certain sentences. A single pop noise in the background or me bumping my desk or anything like that whatsoever. Even sometimes if there was a loud S noise, if I said tss, like that noise, I'd re-record that line. I also overhauled around 10 minutes of footage in the video to make sure that the entire video was in HD anime footage, which meant I had to re-edit that entire 10 minutes and change certain things in small edits, which if you're familiar with editing, it's a very big pain. Along with that, there was also other various changes and just, other things here and there which were pretty annoying. But all I want to say is that I hope you all enjoyed the video, and thank you so much for watching all the way until the end of the video. My streams on Twitch will return this week, and I hope that you can all just do me a really small favor and please go follow my Twitch and other social media below, which is all linked below. There will be another Bleach video soon, as I've actually finished a script for a Bleach video, so if you're subscribed to me mostly for Bleach content, well, it's on the way. Again, I'm really sorry for being away from the channel, but I hope you appreciate this transparency at the end of the video. Take care everyone, and thanks for watching.